Hello, everyone. It's Bradford Speaks, and welcome back to the next episode of the Everything Matters podcast. Today's show will feature a young lady who's 19 years old, and she's a high-fashion runway supermodel. There's a few things that makes her unique, and by the way, her name is India Sampson. What makes her unique is, number one, I've known her since she was a little baby. She's not a little baby anymore. I've also known her mom for more than 20 years, and she's a great friend of mine. And I'm so thankful that Rosalind and India are joining me on the Everything Matters podcast today. So there's also another thing that makes her a little bit unique. India is 6'1". So you might be curious where she might have got her height from. Maybe her dad was a famous basketball player. Maybe was part of the Phi Slamma Jamma back in the 80s, if you remember. I don't know. There's a few hints that might tip you off. But again, thank you for joining the Everything Matters podcast. And we look forward to seeing you inside and sharing what India has experienced and some of the things that she's done already in her very young life. I mean, having been all over the world, having worn clothing by some of the biggest names in high fashion design. So again, join me in welcoming India Sampson and Rosalind Wilburn to the Everything Matters podcast. I'll see you on the inside. Let's get it popping. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Everything Matters podcast. I have super special guests on the show with me today, Rosalind Wilburn, I should say, and India Sampson. So cool thing about this particular show is what makes it so special for me personally is that I've known Roz for about 20 years. We've been friends for many years, go way back. She's a Detroit gal. I'm a Louisiana boy. You know, we just hit it off years ago from day one, and she's been like my sister like the whole time. So it's really unique for me to have her on the show alongside her daughter. Now, here's another interesting tidbit. India, who's sitting right next to her, was on a cruise with us 18, 19 years ago, Roz, something like that?
Yeah, at least.
And,
18.
Right?
Yeah. Because
exactly.
Or two or something.
Baby. And she and my son, Blaze, were babies on a cruise ship with us. And that baby is now sitting next to her. And she's not a baby anymore. She's 6'1".
Yeah.
And she's a real life runway supermodel. So I'm so excited to have you both on the show. India and Roz, welcome.
Thank you so much
for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, so much to talk about here in your career. I mean, India, you're young. It's just getting started, you know, and Roz, I want to acknowledge you in just supporting her in creating this life for her. I mean, I know it's tough to let a child go and go out and pursue their dreams like that. I mean, she's traveling all over the world, you know, and fortunately you get the benefit of taking some of those trips too, which is great. Right. So I'm sure you're not complaining about that.
No, I'm not.
But, you know, yeah. So, you know, I know that it's a big deal to let go of those reins when it comes to kids, especially being her age. But I just want to acknowledge you for, I know the commitment that it took for you to really support her in chasing after her dreams. So thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean,
awesome.
my goodness. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I couldn't see it.
She's such a good girl. Such a good girl. Thanking her mom right here, right?
I know, right? We're
I
like
love it.
friends. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It's
awesome.
It's been wonderful. Let me just say that.
That's awesome. Yes, at the very least. The show is mainly about India, you know, so mom is there to support. And we might have a few little snippets we might get from Rosalind later on to talk about what it's like to be a supermodel's mom. All right. Mm-hmm. And so, India, first question I have for you is how old were you when you first got this itch to want to be a model, just in general, right? And how does a kid go from saying, I want to be a model, to actually doing it and doing it at the level that you're doing it? How old were you when that came up for you?
Right. So I want to first start off with, my mom was a model back in the day. And so,
nice.
Yeah. And I never really wanted to model like growing up. And she always like pushed the fact that I don't have to do what my parents do. But around like the age 13, 14, I started watching like America's Next Top Model, and I was like, maybe I could do that too. Like, they look like me, they're tall like me, maybe I could do that. Right. So then there was one day where my agent like was looking at Instagram, and I was a part of a volleyball team called Atlantic Volleyball Extreme Club. Right? And they searched me or whatever. They looked at the Instagram and it was like, who's the tallest one on the team? And it happened to be me. So then they like DM'd my mom and was like, hey, is she interested in modeling? And this was around the time when I was starting to like, oh, like, this is cool. Maybe I should do it. And yeah. And then we went to Tennessee.
Well, they sent me the DM, and then of course I was Mama Bear. Like, hey, who's DMing me about my daughter?
Exactly.
Who's looking
Protect
at
that baby, man.
D? Like, what you doing? Looking at my daughter. Who's this? And I answered the DM on Instagram. And it was like 6 months after they sent me the original DM that I actually read the message, because back then I wasn't really reading. When I say back then, a few years ago, I wasn't really reading my messages on Instagram.
Didn't really know how to do that.
I don't even think I wasn't really paying attention to that.
Right.
And so then, I called the folks and then spoke with, who was that, Jenny?
Yeah.
Anyway, we spoke with an agent, and she said, listen, I want you guys to maybe come here. You know, if you're interested, we really think your daughter has potential. And I want you guys to come here so that you can see that we're legit. And I said, okay. And you know,
took a chance.
We took a chance. And here's the thing. I wouldn't say that I'm a religious person. Lord knows, everybody knows that. But I'm
got that. I know that about you. Yes.
Yeah, you know this. And I was like, God, why are you wanting to send us to Nashville? You know, like Atlanta is like movies and everything going on here.
Right.
Why are we going to Nashville? So I prayed about it, and I was obedient, and we landed in Nashville at her agency, and I'll let her pick it up from
And then everything was like so amazing. Everything was like so good in terms of how we met them, and we took pictures and then like signed the contract the next day. Right.
Wow.
The next day.
Was it?
No, because remember, we had to get back here, and I said, y'all send it to, you know, the business part, you know.
Right. You got to read that fine print. Yeah.
You guys can go ahead and send it to me. We're excited. We found out they were legit. I did all of my background, like research, like Better Business Bureau. Who are these people? And everything checked out really well. And then I said, you guys can send me the email and the contract in the email, and I can go through everything, and then we'll get back.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, so we got back, and
and it was great ever since. But with regards to like how other people can get into it, I guess, is since I started off of Instagram, I had a very unique way to start. Okay. So I help people like often with trying to take pictures and submitting them to agencies. So what you would do is like take a really professional picture, and you would wear all black, and it would be like side or front profile, and then other profile to your right, to your left. And then you would submit them to agencies around where you are, or even New York. And then you have to wait and see until they get back with you. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting process.
Not traditional.
Right. Yeah.
Because she was scouted. She didn't really necessarily go looking for it. Yeah. However, I always talk with her about intention. The intention was being put out there. And when you put intention out there, in my opinion, it comes back to you in forms of people lining up with that, and then, you know, and making a marriage perhaps. And so that's what I believe happened, because the intention from her was being put out. Right. And the universe just lined up with it. And I was just here for support. I'm like, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to model, you don't have to model, because I model. But if you're going to model, let's be the best daggum model you get out there. Let's do it.
I know, that's right. Exactly. So, you're going to go hard, right? Go hard or go home.
Yeah, exactly. So that's initially how she got signed with the mother agency in Tennessee. Right. We were going back and forth for Tennessee. I don't know. A lot of people saw on Instagram and Facebook.
I remember that.
Documenting our journey for a couple of years. And then you did what? Nashville Fashion Week? I did Nashville
Fashion Week, walked my first show, and then I did Prada.
And then she went straight from there to them flying us to New York and Prada booking her. And I was just mom because she was 16.
And I was like,
underage. And so they had to fly me, and I had no problem with that.
I'm sure you didn't.
Yeah. And then next thing I know, she's in like a runway show with top models from around the world.
Right.
Like second show out. So her path is a little unique. Yeah.
Unique. I got that. I agree with you, Roz. I think that it, just was meant to be. I mean, they started out, and I'm sure that these agencies are always looking, right? You've got to always be looking for the next hot talent. And Indy, I just want to say, Tyra Banks ain't got nothing on you. I mean, like, I'm just saying. I used to watch America's Top Model all the time, and I thought Tyra was awesome. I love her to death. So next question I want to ask. So Roz, you talked about documenting that experience of going back and forth to Tennessee, sort of building the muscle of what it means to be a supermodel. So Indy, I want to ask you, so how does one go about like training to become a supermodel? Because when you see them on the stage, they're walking a certain way they're turning their body and moving, and the clothes have to fit a certain way. Like, how do they train you and develop you to do that at a high level?
So when I started, before I got signed, I just started watching Naomi Campbell videos and try to practice what she does, because she's the best runway walker. So I'm just like,
yes.
Yeah, I watch videos on top of videos like Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell, anybody that was like as tall as me, kind of, sort of. And then when I got signed, it's all about development, right? Mm-hmm. So I went to classes. They taught me how to walk. They had like, a girl there that was like, could walk and stuff, like that was more seasoned in the modeling. So they had us walking, had us in a class, and we just did that. And then they perfected it throughout time. So that's how kind of like started.
Hey, YouTube, I'm hearing YouTube University a little bit in there, right? I mean,
yes,
it's how I learned how to do a podcast. I watch videos on YouTube, right? Watching people who are doing it at a high level.
Right.
I mean, seriously,
you can learn everything on YouTube.
Yeah. Everything on YouTube, man. And so you took the initiative to go out and watch those videos and see people who were doing it at a high level. Naomi Campbell, absolutely beast mode, man. Fire. Absolutely. Right. And then you had a development program, and it sounds like there's some mentorship that you mentioned in there, right?
Yeah.
Very much the same as doing anything, right? You go play a sport, they give you a mentor, someone to hold your hand and walk you through and to coach you and develop you along the way.
Right.
It sounds like that's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was fun though. Because, I love criticism, because that makes me
better. Love criticism? Hold on. Say more about that. Who loves criticism?
I love criticism because if it's good criticism, but if they're telling me, to do it a certain way, then I'm going to do it a certain way. Like if I need to change something, I'm going to automatically change it like right there. Yeah.
Got it.
Because she learns fast. That's what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
They're like, if she wasn't doing something quite like they wanted her to do it, when they told her, she did it like right away. So that's always good in any profession.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No question. I'm hearing some coachability. I'm sure playing sports, the way you did, you learn how to be coachable, right? And I think that's really important for people who are looking to get into any industry. You got to be coachable. You got to be willing to take the feedback, right? And of course, we like to hear it in a certain way. And it may not always be the most nice and comfortable feedback, right? But it's what's going to get you where you want to be in terms of your performance.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, coaches.
Yes. I mean, I'm absolutely loving what you're saying here. Naomi Campbell, you're talking my language. She's part of my generation, your mom's generation. Yeah. Absolutely savage. So the next thing I want to ask you, Indy, is, what we know on the Everything Matters show, it's all about performance, right? And how people are facing the challenges that they come across and how they are able to conquer those and get through those. So if you could share with us, what was your biggest challenge that you faced in getting into this space and being successful at it and doing it at a high level? And then tell us how you got through it, like how you broke through that challenge and how you conquered that challenge for yourself.
So me, just in life in general, I've always been so tall than everyone else. So definitely being tall and my confidence with that was very low, like at an early age, because everybody would tease me in school. Like I was so slim and so tall, like everybody would tease me. And I wanted to be, I wanted to fit in with everyone else. I want to be a kid, like wanted to fit in. But
of course.
I think that the way I progressed through my confidence and trying to be tall is through modeling. I really once I figured out, I can get paid for being tall. Wow. Like, that's kind of crazy.
That's my girl.
Right? Exactly.
No, like, so my confidence started to build up from that, obviously. And then with my mom, you know, telling me who she is, she helped me get through that. And I appreciate you for getting me through that, because that was really hard in my life. Anyway. Yeah.
It was hard for me to watch, you know, being a mom, and, you know, it was almost bullyish, you know, like for kids, and for any parent watching their kid go through a hard time like that in school with other kids, and they don't quite fit in, and you just want your kid to feel as normal as all the other kids felt. That was hard. But, you know, here we are now. You know, God has a plan.
Here we are.
And I'm getting paid.
And you're getting paid for being tall, but not for just being tall. Let's be honest, you're tall and you're beautiful. So that kind of works together. So
thank you.
Let's keep it 100. Now, okay. So talking about being tall, I want to mention the fact that where you got your height from. I know your mom. She's not 6 feet. So I wanted to share with the audience that India's father is, some of y'all may remember, his name's Ralph Sampson, and he used to play. He was part of the Phi Slamma Jamma back in the 80s, I think, Ross? Back in the 80s, right? Yeah, back in the 80s. Also played in the NBA for several years, center. And your dad is 7'2", if I recall correctly. Is that right?
He's 7'4", actually.
7'4", okay. I met Ralph one time. I think India. I can't remember where we were. Maybe in a picnic or something. And Ralph came.
It was on the cruise.
It's right. It was the cruise. That's right. It was the cruise.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I met Shaq before. I met Shaq one time back when he was at LSU. And Ralph's taller than Shaq.
He's taller than Shaq.
And so, I mean, these are the two biggest people I've seen in my life. So you got fortunate to get those genetics. And you had to deal with a little bit of teasing, but look what came out of that, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Woo, thank God.
Yes. I love it. Okay, India, one of the things that I want to know personally, and I'm sure that other people who are watching want to know, let's just call the elephant out in the room, right? So looking at you on this camera, looking at you on the screen, you're a young Black woman, American woman, right? And pretty sure your mom is too. I've seen her many times.
Yeah.
So, anybody who watches, runway high fashion modeling knows that there are not a lot of Black women in this space. We talked about Naomi Campbell earlier, and she was one of very few back at that time. And it's still a very, a space that's occupied very little by Black women. So what's this experience been like for you, being a young Black woman in this space where there are not a lot of you?
You definitely have to, you have to try harder. You have to, put in more work. You have to, just stand out like a lot more than another person would be. Right. So I've definitely experienced, being the only Black person in the room. And feeling some type of way because I'm the only Black person in the room, but still trying to find where I fit in with people and try to relate to them. The industry is definitely changing, but there is a long way has to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So long, very long.
Right.
But
a lot of judgment going on, it sounds like. We were talking off camera about, it's like Black quarterbacks in the NFL, right?
Right.
For years and years and years. I mean, Warren Moon was one of the very few, and we had, a few others that came along that were Black quarterbacks. But for years, the Black quarterback wasn't even considered in the conversation. Doug Williams came along and won the Super Bowl, back in the 90s. And it's very similar. So you look around the NFL now, and to your point, things are changing. People are becoming more accepting to more people of color being in the space. So just like we saw a shift and a transformation around Black quarterbacks in the NFL, I'm hoping that we see that sort of transformation happen in your industry as well. It sounds like it might be on the way, but might be a ways to go, like you said.
Yeah, for sure.
But like India said, we do see some changes. Quite honestly, right now, Black girls are all the rage for a lot of magazine work.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to see a lot. But this is what I talk with India sometimes about, is that you don't necessarily see a lot of African American Black girls. It's going to be the girls that are from Nigeria and, like places from over in Africa. Yeah. And while that's okay, we're all sisters.
Yeah.
Which is great. But it seems to me that the industry wants to say, okay, if you're Black, then you're just this Black. And we are a rainbow of Black.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that represented on the runway. Yeah, more. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I would love to see that represented on the runway more. Right. Not just black or white, but girls that they consider us exotic. Okay. So we'd love to see all of it. I'd love to see all of it so that everybody is represented. Yeah.
100%. Totally agree. And you bring up a great distinction, Roz, when you mentioned a lot of print work. You know, you're right. Like, you know, black women are like, you see us in, well, not us because I'm not a black woman, but you see black women, you know, all over the print magazines. I mean, it is, you know, the full bodies, you know, are much more voluptuous bodies are much more in style now than they ever were before. I remember when I was in high school, you know, some of my white friends, if we saw a black girl that had what we call to be a nice butt, you know, the white dudes be like, man, she's fat. And all the black guys be like, fat, dude, you crazy? She's fine, man.
It's so true. But yeah, you're starting to see that more, but not so much represented on the runway like it should be. Right. You know, I'm saying the variations of the beautiful colors of black that we are.
Yeah. Right. I dig it. Well, hey, you know, India keeps making these big moves in the industry. She might be a moving shake and can make that happen, kind of push that along, right? She's definitely a trailblazer.
Do the dynamic in the industry.
Amen.
Yes. Trailblazer in her own right. I love it.
That's right.
Okay, India, you've been modeling for about 4 years now. Is that correct? Sound right? Great. And, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I've been a little jealous of some of the pictures I seen your mom post. I'm straight hating sometimes, you know. So I say that to say, you know, she's posted some beautiful pictures of you two in some really amazing places across the world. And I wanted you to share with us, like, what's been the most amazing place that you've been to so far in your travels as a supermodel, and tell us why that is.
Venice, Italy has definitely been the most beautiful place that we've ever been. You have to travel everywhere on boat. There's no streets.
Wow,
zero streets. Yeah, you have maybe like a sidewalk where you can walk, and then there's a hotel, right?
Right.
But
then you fall in the water.
Right, and then you fall in the water. Or
then you fall in right.
But it was so beautiful. It was so real. Like, I felt like I was in a movie or something. I don't know.
I cried as we were landing because it was so
Are you serious?
I was like, tear, you know.
even coming on the air, even coming in on the airplane was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. It's
all water, like it's beautiful water.
Yeah,
it's just,
and pictures to me don't do it justice. When you see the pictures on Facebook or wherever you see pictures of Venice, it just does nothing because you have to experience flying into that space. It's so beautiful. I literally cried because I was grateful for the opportunity that I was with her. We were doing this together, and the place was so beautiful. Not to mention who she was walking for in Venice. So that was great.
Right.
Okay. So you made a great segue right there. So that was my next question I was going to get to. Thank you, Roz. I appreciate it. I'm about to make you my co-host, girl. So if you could share with us, and again, I don't know if there's some restrictions about what you can share, but I would love for us to, a couple of things I want to know. Number one, and you can tell us a secret, India. Like, I promise we won't tell everybody else. Okay, I promise. So these really like thousands and thousands of dollars of dresses that you're wearing, right? Are they really worth that kind of money? Or could we really just go down to the thrift shop and find one and put it together and it'd be kind of the same thing? What do you say?
I feel like, I'm always into thrifting,
Okay.
You can get the same, materials. Rich people, they drop off their stuff when they don't want it anymore. So
true.
We can head down to the thrift store and just, buy something or whatever.
Yeah, build your own runway at the house, right? Get up there and model around. Why not?
Build your own runway. You got, all the luxury brands and stuff.
Which we do.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's great. Save a little money.
You got to make it do what it do.
That's right.
Exactly. So in that line of thinking, and who has been like, give us an idea of some of the biggest brands in the world that you've had a chance to drape their clothes across your body.
Prada, I've walked for. Valentino, I've walked for. Brandon Maxwell, Tom Ford.
Whoa.
Tom Ford was good.
Okay.
Marc Jacobs, Prabal.
Yeah.
Wow. Gucci?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, it's coming though.
They're on the list.
Yeah, we don't want too fast because we wanted to just, steady.
Exactly. I like that. Rather, I like how you're thinking, girl. Yeah, you always been a little smarty pants, boy.
Yeah.
So, so you bring up an interesting point. So, who determines who you actually walk for? Do they come out and scout the agencies for models for their particular line that's coming out? Like, how does that part of the business work?
They do go through a casting, right? So agency or like a designer or whatever, they would probably go through the agency and and see like who they want, and then they'll send a girl on the casting, whatever time the casting is, and then they'll see if they like you or not. Right.
Okay.
Right. And every girl has a digital profile that's kept at the agency. So your agents that represent certain different groups of girls.
Okay.
And so then the agent will get maybe something from, say, Valentino to say that we're looking for this particular type of girl.
Yeah.
And then the agent will say, okay, well, I know India fits this criteria. And, these 10 girls fit the criteria. So we will send all of these girls to schedule them for casting.
Got it.
And then they will go to the casting, and then they will then be put on hold if the casting director for Valentino is interested in say maybe 5 out of the 10 girls, they will let the agency know and say, I'd like to put India on hold or on option.
Or she can come back for a fitting.
Right. Or they'll say she could come back for a fitting. And you're still not booked, even then.
Okay.
You said, you're so close to thinking.
We just want to check and see if this might work. We ain't sure yet.
I mean, you can, and India can tell you can go up until like showtime. You could be cut while you're standing in line.
Wow.
Yeah. So you don't walk until you walk. You could that outfit could be cut. The designer or the director could be going, I want to wear this one. Yeah, let's keep this. Let's cut that look. And that girl's cut out of the show completely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like that.
It's real different in say New York, the way that things happen, or Venice or Paris or London or Milan, wherever we've gone.
Interesting.
That's the way that it works.
It sounds a lot like it's like the movie industry, right? You go in and you audition. Basically,
you audition, right?
And they let you know that it's for a call back, get a second shot to come in, and they look at you again, and you audition again, and if they like you to keep you. If not, you might get down to, I don't know if you get down to production time or starting to shoot before I don't think they'll cut you on the scene, but I guess if you ain't cutting the mustard, they'll let you go right there.
They will cut you right while you're in the line while the show is going. If the designer says, I want to pull that look. Yep. That's how it can happen.
Wow. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is, something that's super important, and it's kind of an interesting question for you because you are a young person. So when you think about our youth and, watching what's taking place in the world around our young people, what do you see as missing in terms of providing support and education and whatever it might be for our kids? What do you see as missing? What needs to be put in place?
Definitely in the school system, they don't teach you about taxes or even how to clean or cook or even how to do like really anything that's necessary for real life. We don't know how to buy a car. We don't know how to get a house. Like, we need that in actual life. They just don't teach you things for actual life, which I feel like if we were to be taught stuff like that, we would just be better off. Right.
Well, I mean, okay, so just, of course, cooking and these types of things you learn at home, which thank God you have learned. Yeah. But for a lot of kids, back in the day, we may be dating ourselves. I don't know.
That's okay. All good.
But, back in the day, we had home economics. We took sewing classes. We learned some things about cooking. My mom taught me how to cook, but I've taught her how to cook.
But for some kids that don't have that privilege, what do? Just like not learn how to do taxes or not learn how to clean or cook or do anything.
Balance a bank account, right? I mean, just simple stuff. Like you said, buy a car.
Buy a car. Like, that's just not there.
It's basic survival skills. It sounds like what you're saying. Just survival, right?
Yeah.
How do I survive in life, right?
Right.
I mean, that's awesome. I'm glad you shared that because I agree. I think that, knowing how to make a bed properly, knowing how to wash dishes, knowing how to, wash clothes, when I grew up, my mom didn't really make me wash clothes around the house. I had sisters there, so my sisters did it and my mom did it. So when I got to college, I didn't really know how to wash clothes. So I had to learn when I got to college kind of on my own, and not to say that my mom wasn't awesome. My mom was the bomb, but it just wasn't something that she made me do. And like washing dishes, I didn't have to really wash dishes growing up as a kid, When I got to college though, your brothers, yeah, the boys get treated. My sisters give me a hard time now. You was always a favorite. You didn't have to do anything. Hater. So I totally get it. And I agree with that. I think that is certainly something that's missing. And if it's in the design of the education system, it's probably intentional. So the question becomes now, why don't you want kids to learn this?
Right.
And again, we'll table that for the next conversation. All right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. The next question I want to ask you is, right along the lines with, what's missing for young people. I think there's inspiration, there's encouragement. There's a lot that's missing there. But some of the things you mentioned are really powerful points. How do you see yourself fitting into that equation, India, in terms of being an inspiration and being someone that young people can look up to?
Right. I just want to inspire people, and to be authentically themselves. Don't try to be anyone else. You can't be anybody else. Don't try to conform to whatever's going on. If you don't like something, you don't like it. Inspire people to just do that. Just be themselves and to create maybe a question that society hasn't answered yet, and to learn off of what everybody else has to say. Create your own kind of truth, I guess, and inspire other people too. Yeah,
create your own lane, right? Make your own lane. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to follow what everybody else is doing. You created your own lane, right? There weren't a lot of people doing what you're doing right now, and you've been trailblazing your own lane, and you'll continue to do that, I'm sure. With the support of the people around you. So. Right along the lines of support, right? And obviously your mom being here, being an incredible support for you, who would you say provides the biggest inspiration for you? Who's your role model, your biggest fan? And, maybe it's not one person, maybe it's multiple people or multiple things. What do you find your inspiration? Where do you find inspiration to keep going?
Definitely my mom. The talks that we had throughout the years is very beneficial for me. And she inspires me a lot to just be who I am, because I can't be anyone else. Fear is definitely her. If I had to say one person,
Okay, good deal. Who else do you or what else do you look to for that you hang your success on? I know your mom is a big part of that. Is there any other areas that you look at that you draw inspiration and encouragement from, and your drive and passion to go out and do what you want each day?
We recently started watching this girl on YouTube. Her name is Lynette Atkins, and she has changed my life, I think. Shout out to Lynette. Thank you. Shout out to Lynette. She has so much good stuff that you can just learn from. I recommend watching her if you're struggling in any area of your life. She's just a good advice person to go to when you feel down or sad, or even if you're motivated and inspired. Yeah, she's very inspiring. Yeah,
that's awesome. And it sounds like, in listening to what you're saying, India, also that you continue to stay in action, right? One of the, we get a lot of guests that come on here, and one of the consistent things I keep hearing is that, when I get, you talked about when you see something on paper that needs to get done, you just go do it, right? You don't sit around and wait for someone else to do it. You don't sit around and hope, oh, maybe it'll get done. You actually take action. You take the initiative and you go and do it yourself, which I think is what is a big part of what I would say is, I would assert is driving you to the level of success and performance that you're achieving right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, India. So, young people who, young women in particular, or maybe even some guys that might want to get into runway fashion modeling, that are curious and interested in getting into this particular area as a career, what kind of advice would you give them, and what kind of pitfalls might you warn them that could come up as they pursue this type of career?
So don't overthink everything. Don't think everything is going to happen overnight, because it won't. There's a process. You have to work hard and and stuff like that. Don't be too hard on yourself mentally, physically, like you can do everything. So, yeah. And then don't spend all your money. Save some, please. Because, yeah, you need money later in life. So you need to save all your, for taxes, especially. Yeah.
India, how old are you now again?
I'm 19.
19. So 19-year-old tax advice coming in. This ain't just for the 19-year-olds out there. It's for the 29-year-old, 30-year-old. Now, how old you are, and no matter how old you are, save some of your money. Listen to India.
Save it. Please.
The tax man is coming.
Your fall in is the pitfall of Uncle Sam.
Yes, indeed. And he got a few pitfalls, not just one. He got like 5 or 10 of them around you.
He's got
potholes. Hey, Atlanta potholes, right?
Hey, Atlanta potholes. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Nobody can rescue you from those potholes.
Yeah, for
indeed.
Or the moral of the story is save your money. Okay.
I got that. All right. So, India, one of the things that we talk about here on the Everything Matters podcast is failure, because we know that no one really achieves any high level of success without failure, right? So I'm sure that even at 19 years old, you had your share of failures already in life, right? So tell us about one time when you felt like you failed and missed the mark, and how did you actually move through that failure? How did you conquer that failure to get yourself up off the ground, dust yourself off, and keep moving towards your goal?
In Paris, we were in Paris for Fashion Week, and I didn't get anything. I didn't get any shows. It was show season, so I didn't get any runway shows. I went on all these castings. I didn't get anything. Then we went home. Also in Paris, my mindset was a lot different than it is now. And once I saw that I was like not getting stuff, I was like, oh, I must not be like great. Like, you know, I can't, maybe I'm not enough for, you know, all these brands right, to pick me. But I got over that by trying to, I meditated a lot. I organized my life. I just, you know, kind of just refocus my energy on myself and who I was as a person, and not to devalue myself because brands won't pick me. And also, I think I see failure as motivation. Like every single time I say, oh, I didn't get something, I'd be like, okay, this motivates me to do better, to practice more, to do something more so that I can have other people or designers not say no.
That's awesome. Awesome. I mean, I'm hearing that consistency, you know, and, you know, we all face failures, and it's about getting up and believing in yourself. Right. And, you know, you're going to have that negative conversation is going to take place in your mind, and we can expect that to happen. Right. We're human beings. At the same time, at the end of the day, you have a choice, and the choice that you make is to get up, get your life organized. Right? Yeah. Say, hey, just because I had that one single failure doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It doesn't mean that I suck. It means that I failed. I didn't get picked for the Access time. And that's okay. You go back in the lab, you work harder, you get smarter, you watch more videos on YouTube, whatever you need to do, right?
Watch more Naomi Campbell.
Exactly. And you come back in, you attack it again, right? So I'm hearing this consistent theme that you're saying is that you need to stay in action. Keep taking the next action, and that's where you want to go ultimately. That's awesome.
That's good. Of course. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
All right, India. So this is one of my favorite questions here. And, you know, it's one of the things that I think about all the time, and I've thought about it for quite some time. And at 19, you may or may not have given it much thought, but I want to ask you the question anyway. You know, everybody, for the most part, if they're mentally well and there's nothing else going on with them, wants to be remembered for something. They want to leave a mark in the world for what they contributed to the world, and they want to be remembered for something. When all the smoke settled, you're 19 now, you got a long, illustrious career ahead of you. We all hope and pray. And when that's over, though, what do you want people to say about India Sampson, about the mark that you left and the contribution you made to either your industry, to the world, your community, your family? What do you want people to say about you?
I think I want people to say that I helped try to gain confidence in themselves. Also, I inspired them and just help them try to just get through life. And in terms of the industry, I would say just change the dynamic, change how people do things. There's a lot of stuff in the industry that I don't like, and I want to be able to change that. And so that's what I want to be remembered for. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Raj, you want to add something?
Well, I was just going to say things that she wants to, that she's interested in changing is there's several things, and it's based on her experience and her living through it, and then coming back and saying, you know what, if I were in charge, you know, as her 19-year-old self,
absolutely,
I would do it this way so that girls wouldn't feel this way, you know. And I know what those things are. One of them being like, just, you know, like to basically have more control over their schedule so that everything is not last minute. Yeah, because there's a whole show that we could do on just how things are just very last minute. And so you don't have an opportunity to really control your life, at least in the early days of modeling. So she has some ideas of how she would potentially change that.
Gotcha.
You know? Gotcha. There's a lot that people don't know about, but you know,
that's a whole different show.
That's another show.
I got it. Well, thanks for at least bringing up the conversation and giving people some insight into that world that you're in is not perfect, right? People, when you get on the stage and people looking at y'all just prancing up and down the runway, and it's like, oh my God, they're wearing that $10,000 dress by Tom Ford or whatever. But nobody knows what's going on backstage. Nobody knows what happened on the flight over there. Nobody knows what happened at dinner. Nobody knows all the other dynamics, as you mentioned, that are taking place to put that show on and to make it a success. So. Again, I acknowledge you for the foresight and really wanting to make a difference because, as you know, I mean, when you finish this particular part of your career, there's always an opportunity for you to go out and get into managing, you know, or helping to, you know, organize some of these big events that are happening all over the world. So you've got a really great opportunity to make a difference in that space. So we're here to support you in any way that we can and making that happen for you, if that's what you want to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. India, Roz, it's been such a pleasure to have you both on the show. And thank you so much for sharing with us, you know, a little bit about your world. I know, you know, as we talked earlier, a little bit off camera, you know, a lot of people get close insight. And I just feel honored to know someone whose daughter is a supermodel. I don't think I've ever met a supermodel in person, you know, in real life. I still haven't met you in real life, but maybe one day. Actually, I did meet you in real life at a volleyball game, Roz. Remember that? I think it was North Gwinnett. I think she was playing a volleyball game.
I think I remember that.
I thought, that's right, because Blaze was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's right. Yeah. So I have met you. I met a supermodel, y'all, in person. So I really thank you for coming on the show and for sharing your world with us so much. So I want to give you an opportunity, you know, to share, like if people want to follow your journey, follow, you know, some of the places you're going, and maybe even reach out to you in a direct message for advice. Maybe other young girls who are looking to get into this space. Hey, India, you got any advice for me? Like, what can I do? Can you look at my headshots? Whatever it might be. I don't know, right? Whatever your experience will lend you to support them in. You know, how can people find you and how can people, you know, keep track of what you're up to?
On TikTok and on Instagram, I am India.Sampson or periods. My name just India Sampson, and then YouTube I'm just India Sampson.
Okay. Yeah, Sampson, I got it. Pretty easy to remember. INDIASAMPSON.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, hey, ladies, again, thank you for being on the show, for sharing everything you did with us and being so authentic and real with us about, you know, what you're dealing with and how wonderful of a journey this is for y'all. And again, Roz, I am envious of you that you get a chance to do all this stuff. And
I tell people, you know, you should be, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort. So thank you.
So please come back again anytime. You're welcome to come back to the show and share with us some new and exciting things that are happening.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
My pleasure. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Doris Brown's baby boy. We out.